Hey everybody, it's David Becker, and welcome to the next installment of the tribute to Joe Diorio. It's the 20th anniversary of The Color of Sound, which was Joe's last recording. And I'm joined today by my special guest all the way from Italy, Giuseppe Continenza. Giuseppe, thanks for coming today, man. It's great to see you.
Thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Yeah,
We know each other for many, many years, but we've never
yeah,
actually met face to face unless, did we ever meet at MI? Do you know?
yeah. Maybe.
I think we did.
I
What
think
year
we did. Yeah,
when did you go to school there? What year was that?
was 91.
So 91, I would have done a concert with my group in
I think I saw.
P1.
I saw your
Okay.
concert.
So we must have met in Joe's room then. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
okay. Well, t tell me a little bit about your experience, how you decided to go to MI and how you knew about Joe Diorio.
yeah. Actually, my father was a jazz guitarist. He
Okay.
used to play Wes Montgomery, Django Reinhardt. So he was really good guitar player with a very great ear. And I start to really buy so many records, vinyl, CD. Of course, I ran. There was a great record shop in my city, Pescara, Italy. They have a record of Joe Diorio. I was reading on Guitar Player about Joe Diorio.
Right.
So I bought this record. I say, "Wow, what is that?" No, I was completely blown. I say, "It's from another world." It's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
Martian.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a alien. So I
Yeah.
start to like his way of playing because he was mixing this kind of bebop classical playing with this modern phrasing that is
Right.
unique.
Right. And which record was that? Do you remember?
Was Earth Moon Earth,
Okay.
yeah.
So it was
Was
one of the
with
later ones. Yeah.
Elvis
Yeah.
Wars. Yeah,
Oh, the early
actually, sorry,
stuff?
the first one,
Oh,
Bonita
Bonita.
was
Yeah, that's one of my
Bonita. Yeah,
favorite records. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I got a copy when Joe made that record because I was a student
Wow.
back then in
Yeah,
1980. And I remember when Joe brought that to the school and I got a copy from him and he signed it. And I love that record. A lot of early Joe's recordings, like the stuff on Spitball Records that came out later on Art of Life records, such
yeah,
as Solo Guitar or Peaceful Journey. Are you familiar with those? Yeah,
yeah.
I think one of the best records that Joe made during that time period was the one with Wally Cirillo, the piano
See,
player.
Wally Cirillo,
From
yes,
yeah, it's an
yes.
amazing duo record that they did at the
I
church.
love this record. Yeah.
Yeah, it was recorded in Miami, where he used to play
Wow.
with Ira Sullivan and
I saw.
Jocko on
Yeah,
bass,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
Steve Bagby on the drums.
yeah.
So tell me, when you came to the school, when did you meet Joe? What was your first meeting with him?
Yeah, it's funny, because we met the first time in the bathroom. Yeah,
Okay.
it was in the bathroom. We met there. Oh, hi, it's Giuseppe. Nice to meet you. So
Yeah.
actually, this is not the best place to meet. That was fun. And always we was laughing about this thing. That the first time we met was there. And after that, I said, let's go to get a cappuccino. So we went down the room on the bar. We get a cappuccino. I start to teach all this magic thing.
Right.
Yeah, and that was the first time we met.
Yeah, Joe was a very special guy. And now you had a chance to play with Joe in Italy because I saw some photos
Yeah,
of you guys. When was
yes,
that?
kind of five concert we did twice. Just kind of five concert together was I think around 98,
Okay.
99. Yes, and he came, he did the master class, and we did a few concerts around. It was for me like being paradise.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I toured with Joe in Europe. I did a
Yeah, great.
three-week tour, and then we did, of course, The Color of Sound, which was his last
Your
recording.
record is amazing. I
Well,
was
thank
talking
you.
with my
Thank
student.
you.
He loved your record.
Oh,
Me
thank
too. I
you.
love your record. Yeah,
It's a record that I never thought would happen because originally I always wanted to make a record with Joe.
yeah.
And we had planned to do something on my second album back in 1987, but I had to scrap that because we went over budget. But when we did the tour in 99, it got me thinking, and luckily my record company in 20 I think 2004 or something, they said, "Is there anybody you want to record with?" And I said, "Joe Diorio." And they said, "Absolutely, we'll pay for that." So I
Yeah.
called Joe and I said, and it was important for me to get an environment where Joe felt comfortable and we could get a good sound on the guitars. And we just played, we had 2 days in the studio. So
Wow.
a lot of those tracks are just one takes, like Stella by Starlight was one take.
Beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, I'm very proud of that record, and I know Joe loved that record. Which
Yeah,
one of the best compliments that he gave me about it was that he gave a copy to Pino Moroni. Do you know Pino from
yeah,
Argentina?
yeah, wonderful player.
Yeah, we Pino and I did a talk recently, and Pino said Joe
Yeah,
gave him the copy and said, "You listen to this when you have time. You really pay attention to this. There's
yeah,
some really, really great stuff on there." And
yeah,
I
I
was
believe.
so I'm very, but the fact is that it was the last recording Joe made before his stroke. And I feel like, wow, when I found that news out, I was like, I had such a mixed feeling about it, but I'm so proud that we were able to do that. And
Yeah,
that it lives on, that 20 years later, that so many guitar players acknowledge that record as being what it
yeah.
is. So I'm grateful for that. But tell me a little bit about your first, when you were at school with Joe, what kinds of things did you guys talk about and work on?
Yeah, I remember there was this room called Joe Diorio Don't Mock the room. I remember I used to go inside there, and the first time I was so curious about this thing about intervals. Of course, I get this book, Intervallic Design, and like
Yeah,
almost everybody get this book.
right.
He was teaching about this kind of, it was the great thing that he make complex things sound so great and simple.
Yeah,
So when you see him, it was like, wow, this is so simple. When you go to place, oh my God. Plus, he was always encouraging, about playing, about the things that really make me very good about him, made me very happy actually about him, that he always was finding in every person the good things.
yeah, yeah,
Maybe you do something wrong, he always try to put the accent on what there is right. And that really was good for me because I was very young. At the time I was exploring so much, and it
sure.
really was so important for me that.
I think that was one of the things that Joe had to offer to many of the students. I mean, I talked about that with Jennifer Batten, is that Joe just had a way to communicate something very deep that wasn't just, scales and arpeggios
Yeah,
and things.
yeah,
It was a concept of music, of being
yeah,
able to
music and
impart that.
life, yeah,
Yeah, yes, and they go together, because
yeah,
Joe
yeah, that's
and
it, you
and
know.
he just had a really, really direct spirit of being able to recognize how do you interpret music, because he
Yeah,
didn't just give the same thing to everybody. He would, for me, in my case, he would just play and I would just watch. And I know
yeah,
other
yeah,
guys, he would write things down, but I think he was in tuned not only to himself as a musician, but being able to share that, because that's a hard thing to do, as as an
yeah,
educator as well,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
And I
The
often
most,
think about that. Well, we did some workshops. Did you guys do workshops together or just concerts?
no, we did the concert together, mostly concert.
Because
We support, yeah,
we did a couple of workshops together as well as concerts, and it was interesting to sit side by side with Joe. I'm giving a workshop with Joe Diorio, but
yeah,
I'm learning
wow,
as I'm going because he's doing these things, and I'm going,
yeah, yeah,
oh, now I understand that. And
yeah,
it
that's
was
that's
so.
great.
And that's the thing about Joe is that, and you could always see Joe when he would show you something, he would be figuring it out in real time. He'd be
Yeah,
playing something and just go like, you'd see the light bulb go off in his head,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
then he would give it
yeah,
to you, which is really
yeah,
remarkable that somebody had that much creativity that he could constantly just grow. And even after his stroke, he was working on music,
yeah.
every day.
I remember he was, correct me if I'm not right, he was writing a book about triads.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact,
After I think,
he helped me. I wrote a book during the pandemic on
yeah,
it's an etudes book. I'll send you a copy. It's
yeah, thanks.
25 etudes. They're all open triads.
Yeah, yeah,
And I started because I was playing something for Joe. We would talk on the phone every day.
yeah,
So I said, Joe, listen to this. And he goes,
yeah,
oh, David, that's a good one. You got to write that down. So I wrote the first
great.
one down. And then every day I would come up with new ones
Yeah,
and I'd say, Joe, listen to this one.
yeah.
And he helped me with the 25 etudes that I wrote during that
Wow,
period
that's
of time.
great. That's
And that was
wonderful.
very inspiring for sure.
That's
So
wonderful.
I'll
That's
make sure you get a
wonderful.
copy. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
thanks.
so did you have a chance to keep in touch with Joe when you went back to Italy after you had seen him play, or did you
Yes,
not?
yes, yes. I used to call him once every 6 months. And the funny thing that Joe Diorio was originally from a city that is kind of 20 minutes from Pescara. You know
Oh,
that
okay. His family.
was
Yeah.
yeah, his family from Ortona. Yeah, of course, the family,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
relatives, and they always because I get student, they are called Diorio, you
Oh,
know.
okay,
So
okay.
so when he came to do a master class in my school, he met these people, that
The
was called
Diorios.
Diorio,
Yeah,
Diorio,
yeah.
But in America they unite, the name because normally it's Di
Yeah,
Iorio,
yeah,
and they put together,
yeah, yeah. They
So his
hyphen.
root, he look actually from Abruzzi, from this
Yeah,
region, this
yeah.
wonderful part of Italy.
I think that was a big part of Joe's personality was the Italian in him that he carried with
Yeah,
him. I know that from just his temperament, and he loved to eat. We had
yeah, yeah,
many
yeah,
great meals. In fact, that's what we. The
yeah,
last time I saw Joe, when I went to his house, I spent about 8 hours there, and we spent maybe six in the living room. I was playing and talking,
yeah.
and then 2 hours eating.
Yeah, I have
Pasta.
a funny story about that, because at first about Italy, he did an album called Italy, remember,
Yeah,
no?
I
And
do.
he say, why? I can understand why so many musicians they get roots from Italy. They never try to talk about Italy and give an album a name,
Mhm.
So he couldn't understand that. And so another story very funny is that, we went to a restaurant, in Italy, and he was eating so good. After we met in Los Angeles, no, and we went to Melrose, there is a restaurant
Yeah.
called
Sure.
Chianti in Melrose
Okay.
Avenue, and there was the waiter put the bread on the table. Joe took the bread, and after this guy right away get the bread out, So once he said, no, give me the bread back, back the bread. He put the bread back, and this guy want to get another time the bread from the table. And Joe Diorio with the fork, try to get it, He was so mad joking about that, and we will laugh about that so much,
Yeah. Yeah, Joe loved to eat, that's for sure. And
Yeah, yeah, like Aldimiola. No, Aldimiola, I was talking a few days ago with him. He said the doctor, he get an heart attack, And last year, the
he
doctor
had
say,
one. Yep.
yeah, you don't have to eat pizza. You don't have to eat mozzarella di bufala. I say, no, no, I will die if I don't do it.
Yeah, well, if it makes you happy, I think that's more than what a doctor will tell you. Because
Yeah,
if your spirit is good because you're enjoying that, I think that's you can't take that away from somebody. So
yeah, I think
yeah,
so. I think
yeah,
so.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope that we have a chance to get together and play, man. We've
can't
talked
wait,
about it for
man. Can't
so
wait.
long. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, we need to make it happen.
Well, I was thinking maybe what we could do is put together a few concerts in Italy for Joe as a tribute to Joe
That
Diorio.
would be lovely. That would
Wonderful.
be something that really make my heart so happy. He was talking
Yeah.
so good about you. He loved you so much. All the
Oh, I
time,
know. He was,
he was like a brother to him.
yeah. He was like a father, a brother, and
Yeah,
just a best
everything,
friend.
everything.
Yeah. So, well, anyway, man, I appreciate you taking the time to do
Thank
this.
you for inviting me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. You were always on my list. So I have more guys I'm going
Thanks.
to do, but certainly it's great to hear from you. And I know that Joe had a big impact on you. And
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that it's also great to hear that your students are fans because I have a student from Vietnam he's in his early 20s and he's a huge fan
yeah.
of Joe Diorio and he loves the color of sound. So
Um,
I'm grateful that music and that legacy is still living on. So
You did a lot for him, Even this last record, I think you really deserve what you got because it really is not because I'm in front of you, because you beside you're a great musician, but you did because usually musician there are many musicians that are a little bit selfish,
yes,
and you are in the same path of Joe Diorio, that
oh,
you spread the love,
thank you.
peace, and music. That's
Thank you,
we are
man.
kind of
Wow.
ambassador, of
Oh, thank
music,
you, man.
of
I,
jazz. No, I want to
I
tell you
appreciate
that,
that. I appreciate that,
Yeah,
Giuseppe. That
yeah,
means a lot. That really means a lot coming from
yeah,
you.
yeah. Thanks.
Well, we will talk when I'm in Italy. I'll send you a
Yeah,
message. We're
I will
connected.
plan something together.
So, and be sure to give my regards to your brother. You know,
Yeah, I will.